Alrighty, visually impaired. I am going to be doing a video. I know I'm not at a desk or sitting up. I still got some cool stuff behind me on my wall in my room. And I figure this is a video about winter, so I'm going to be comfy and cozy. Here is my octopus mascot. Now you gotta go the other way for them to see you. Bleep! Lolo. Because that's what babies call yellow. And I remembered when I was little, when I saw this shade of yellow, so I call her Lilo. You gotta go the opposite way you think you should go, Lolo. Ah! That's kind of her way of saying hi. Yeah, I do voices. And I have a cinnamon bun pillow. Because I want to be comfy and cozy while talking about this topic. So this is kind of on my what is playlist, even though it's just a what is with like a specific visually impaired theme rather than describing general themes. Lolo, you're gonna have to move a little bit. There we go. Okay. Since it's winter, and winter ain't going anywhere anytime soon, sometimes the warmer comes in March before the 21st, but it looks like we might be sticking with it for a while. I was going to do what is hard about winter for visually impaired people. I can't do it for every visually impaired person, blind person in the world, and I can't do it for every type, but I can do it for RP65 from my personal experience. So, there are a few categories. There's mental health component, which actually could be all of them. Mostly like energy and stuff. And then there's the hazards. And then there's the sensory that has nothing to do with hazards. So we're going to start with the mental health and sensory because it gets juicy when we get to the hazards. I want to save the juicy for last. So, mental health wise, it gets dark around 4 or 5 in winter, and the sun doesn't really come up until 5, 6, or 7, so we have less light, and that can affect visually impaired people, and frankly all people with mental health, with their energy, their emotions, their thought process, and just the stimulation of how light gets into our body through skin, and for visually impaired people, especially the eyes. And there are a few blind people I watch on YouTube that say light, if they have light perception, if they don't have a lot of light, it really affects their mental health. And also, even if they don't have light perception, there's something about that lack of ability to engage with light and how the body takes it in. Even if you don't see light at all, it will affect your mental health. Temperature can affect your mental health. Whether or not you feel vulnerable, exhausted from keeping yourself warm, whether or not you're a visually impaired person where temperature changes affect the way you see or how you interact with your vision because of your sense of touch receiving cold. I'm gonna talk in another video about how I've noticed that when there's very, very loud booming music and a lot of moving lights, and it's pretty much dark in the rest of my church sanctuary. I can't see, or I can't navigate to a chair. Not because my vision just suddenly went, no, we're not doing this. One, it's dark in the sanctuary when the music is already on, so I like to already be in my seat. It's the whole, if I can't hear and there's so much visual light stimulation, I can't see. It's like overstimulation of one of your senses weakens the one that's already a little vulnerable. So sometimes navigation is hard when temperature is different, or the snow is just extremely bright or clumpy or weird. And people who have perfect vision, if it's blizzard conditions, of course you can't see because it's cold or there's just snow everywhere. Kind of like that, but like even if there aren't blizzard conditions. It's not extreme for me personally, although I do feel like with the winds blowing really strong and it's super cold, it will affect my vision and the mental health. So I'm already transitioning into the sensory. I feel like temperature and lighting are the only things that really affect the mental health. I could mention like the holidays of the year and how that can get you, but we're talking about winter, not kind of the holidays or pre-winter in a way. We're going to talk about the sensory. If you had to like feel for things or feel your way navigating in a situation, it can be hard, especially if things are covered in snow and ice. It's like, is this ice I'm touching, or is it an ice-covered banister? Is this snow I'm touching, or is there an object underneath that I'm used to, like, following? I feel like the solution for that is if it's linear or if it's shaped like the thing you usually feel, because you get used to touch memory if you can't see or you're blind. I have reason to believe, because I've done that, where it's really dark or for some reason my vision's just being negatively affected, and either we're whiteout conditions, visibility's down, my visibility's worse because my vision, or a situation where I'm feeling my way to navigate. I can usually remember what things feel like. Like a banister is usually straight or diagonal if it's stairs. Objects I navigate around have a predictable shape, whether they're square, like cupboards, bureaus, round, like, I don't know, banister handles or doorknobs. It can be freaky when you go to grab a doorknob and you're like, why is there a pointy thing attached? Especially if you have gloves on, because you might not necessarily have the cold run through yet. Sensory, yeah. More than likely, if it's a familiar shape, it's just covered. Sometimes the snow freezes rounded on flat things, so it's tricky. I mentioned the other sensory thing is temperature in a way, because the wind and the cold. If there's enough stimuli out there in a harsh winter day, it's like I can't navigate because my other senses are overstimulated. My face and skin are covered in this knife-cutting temperature, wind. My ears hear nothing but all the wintry sounds. The wind is blowing against me. The post-nasal drip I'm sorry, that will drive you nuts enough where it's like, then I already have the other two senses. And if visibility's down or if the wind's whipping at your eyes, it's hard. Let's see what other sensory things. Well, obviously touching cold snow with no glove on is annoying. And going to feel something and maybe you're used to it being soft. And all of a sudden you whack your hand on like hard ice. Or you know your car isn't the car that you get in. You know this car isn't like, you know where it is because you remember where it was parked when someone parked it or when your parents parked it. And it's like, why is it closed all of a sudden? It's either snow like under your feet or snow popping out of the doorknob or even the mirror. When mirrors have extra snow or ice, you slam into them. These are the little sensory things I kind of wanted to describe. But the main reason for this video, I just wanted to think of those because those are issues too. The hazards. The thumbnail is going to have black ice. Dangerous for everyone. But if you are a visual impaired person who cannot tell the difference contrast-wise between shiny melted snow pavement, because it's sheeny and black like it just freshly rained, and frozen black ice, or gosh darn forbid, there's a melted puddle and a black ice puddle nearby. You can't tell the difference as a visually impaired person. Even if someone went dink and it like moved a little. Sometimes if it's a rough enough day or you have tough enough vision, you can't tell. Your eyes might not pick up on the movement. Black ice is just terror. Fine. Slip on it, easily get hurt. Vision impaired people usually can't tell the difference between wet ground, puddle, or black ice. Slushy snow. People say it's white with a slight yellow tint. Really? Sometimes slushy snow is so dim brown, yellow, almost black, like mushy black ice. I've almost tripped or slipped on with slushy snow, even if contrast-wise it's different than black ice. And for lower peripherally impaired people, random boulders of half ice, half snow, just in the middle of the road for no reason, who plowed my street kind of vibe. Well, that doesn't usually happen around here because we have some good plow people, thank goodness. Sometimes you're walking around, you're stomping on the soft snow because for some reason the sensory is fun, and you're like, because you're like, okay, I'm just stepping on the snow, I'll walk on it. Hard one. And sometimes you can't tell the difference between the hard snowball things and the soft, squishy ones. More than likely, if it's big, although it's relative to what you've seen prior to the big one. If it's about the size of like a quarter of a head, half a head, or a head, yeah, it's big. I grabbed a snowball, ice ball, the size of my dad's head when I was shoveling. That thing was heavy. I'm like, our head's that heavy? On to the next. Before I get off topic, on to the next hazard. They're beautiful. They're shiny. Sometimes you can see them if there's a little snow or it's slightly translucent. Icicles. They're just hazardous for everyone. But they hang on low enough and they're clear. Boof! Vision impaired person. Walk right into them. You better hope you walk right into it. Your face is leaning forward and the point's down and you just whack it. Because if your feet are right underneath, those things can impale you. Icicles can do damage. They can dent cars. They can slice through mostly soft materials. Sorry, human beings are mostly soft material. Maybe the bone could stop it, but I don't know. Scary. A lot of icicles after a snowstorm are translucent, so they're not clear, transparent. But even foggy icicles, if you have bad contrast vision, or the light angle is just, making them almost invisible, or there's just so much bright snow and bright sky and bright clouds or gray clouds, just everything's gray looking or white looking. Yeah. I don't have a lot of low-hanging icicles. And icicles don't really hang in weird places, but if you're out and about more as a visually impaired person, you never know. You never know. See, I think the main ones I brought up were the black ice, boulders of doom, and icicles. Let's see. You think of any other visually impaired, like struggles in winter? What is hard about winter for a visually impaired person? Let me know. I guess the snow and ice freeze in a way where all of a sudden the curb of a sidewalk is like almost a ramp. You could slip. You might not realize the steps there because it's not like obvious a step anymore. You help or shovel yourself, and there are a bunch of chunks that froze, so the steps of your house or building aren't flat, so it's just tough terrain. Yeah, I think I mostly got what I wanted to say about all the hazards, mental health, sensory. If there's anything else about winter that's hard, leave it in the comments. So that was it. I always have Christian pictures behind me. I ran out of Bible verse cards that I usually use on these videos. And I used to do that like, subscribe, share, hand gesture sign things. I'm cozy in my bed and they're somewhere else right now. And I'd rather you guys just leave comments about more winter hazards when you get the chance. Because I don't want to keep pressuring people to like and subscribe. Because I do it for an outlet and just for fun. Because some people get paid for YouTube, some people don't, and I'm good with not. So, anywho, I know I haven't been doing a lot of videos lately. I've got a lot of other stuff, and then the other YouTube channel I do is like on the teaching through the Bible, and I've been prioritizing that more. But anywho, visually impaired, until next time, probably do more of a what is, specifically on vision, and then at some point, a what is hard about spring. I'm going to come up with some things about spring. That might be hard, because spring's kind of nice, but I'll think of stuff. So, this has been What is Hard About Winter for Visually Impaired. Alright, goodbye.